This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard. It's a real privilege to be with you today. Today we got an awesome episode, got an awesome guest. I'm so excited to have him on the show. Today, we're going to be talking about the future and how we pay for things through financial transactions that are much different than the way we do things today. We've come a long way from cash and coins and writing checks and contactless credit cards. We've come a long way. I think COVID kind of helped usher some of those things in, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the future of how we transfer money and how we value money and the currency, different types of currencies around the different types of monies that they get moved around the world today. So today we have the privilege of having Bish Smeir on the show. Let me tell you a little bit about Bish. He's a phenomenal guy. He's got an awesome spirit about him. Bish is from Scotland. Awesome place. Visited there many years ago. Now that I've got another friend there, I may hit him up to go back. Bish is he's an entrepreneur. He's a CEO of a fintech company called Enigmatic. I just messed that up. Enigmatic. How do you say it, Bish?
It's enigmatic.
Enigmatic Smile. We're going to find out about that. He's also the founder of Vow, which is a new age type of company that helps people simplify the process of transferring funds from point A to point B, giving people more freedom with their money and their currency, and how we do that today. We're going to learn a lot about that. So without further ado, Bish, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Jason. Pleasure to be here. Fantastic. Lovely. It's late at night here now. So
you're doing some amazing things, and I'm excited for you to talk to the audience about this, because we're counting. I was at the store the other day, and we're handing out cash and bills and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, who likes carrying money around? Who likes dealing with credit cards and getting your stuff stolen at a gas station when somebody schemes your card? I mean, there's just so much stuff going on. But even bigger than that, all that stuff connects to a whole currency framework around banks and in how they want to control money and how that works. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal, because it can break that process. It can give people freedoms to do more with their money than they can today. So I'm excited to talk about that. Talk to us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm just a guy who have done 22 different jobs by the time I was 24, and been fired 22 different times. Everything you could possibly imagine, I did them all, and I just realized I'm strictly unemployable. By the time I was 24, I realized I just can't do it. I just can't work for other people directly. And I had to do something myself. And I ended up, through a very strange twist of events, ending up in London doing door-to-door sales years ago, when I was 19, I think. And we were selling vouchers for Pizza Hut and different sort of restaurants and things. But anyway, I thought it was so hilarious that this stuff went on. I had never seen anything like it, because I came from a little island in Scotland. I just loved it. I thought it was hilarious. So we ended up building huge armies of salespeople in multiple cities, and within these kind of companies, you learn how to become more and more stronger, and until you're kind of running a branch, and then you have multiple branches, and the next thing you know, you've got 1,000 people working for you. So that sort of went through all of those scenarios and learned all about sales and promotions and working with brands and different things like this. And then I had this idea to get involved in payments. And so we bought over a small sort of a prepaid cards company back then and tried to get that all operational. And it was pretty successful for a while. And then it all screwed up, as everything does if you don't do it right. So it all didn't quite work as we planned for various reasons. One of the banks, one of the acquirers behind it or processors behind it went bust. And that created a big problem where companies are going bust in the background that you think are solid, and suddenly they're not there to support the little guy in the middle. So that was a strange learning curve. But by the end of it, when I fast forward a year or two, you end up in a situation where you fully understand the payments landscape, you fully understand the sales marketing landscapes, and you understand all of that stuff. And at that point, we were maybe Bitcoin had started round about then. So we started buying Bitcoin when it was like £80 for a Bitcoin. And I remember buying into the Ethereum ICO for $100. I got 500 Ethereums, which was obviously, when I look back at it, that's crazy. So then we spent a lot of time understanding crypto technology, everything on all these different fronts. And it kind of came to one convergence point, I guess, of desire to do something specific. And that's kind of like where we are now after a 3 or 4 year journey to get to this point. So there's a long history in getting to this point. And hopefully that summarizes me or my journey in a, not a nutshell, but something like that.
Yeah, well, that's a great story. And it's just funny how life presents different challenges and opportunities to us that kind of, provide the twists and turns in life for us to learn and to see things, and for us to, kind of have doors open to us that we may or may not even know are there, that kind of lead us to our passions and lead us to, kind of where we are and what we're able to really contribute in the world. We were talking a little bit earlier before the show here about some of that stuff. And so talk to us a little bit about your company and what all you're doing in that company. What are the products? What are the services? Talk to us about that and how that's working and what's different about that than, what we know as traditional finance and payment processing and things like that.
Okay, well, I think it's an interesting subject matter. There's two companies that I have. Yeah, the first one is a normal rewards technology facilitator, we call it. So essentially, our customers are any large company in any country which has clients who are reward programs, and that's who we service with a new type of technology, linking transactions to debit cards, credit cards, so that they can reward customers more efficiently. And there's a whole bunch of bells and whistles that go with that. But essentially, to put it into layman's terms, if a reward program in the UK or in America or Australia wants a rewards application, they can take a reward application, which on the front end is being operated by somebody else. In the back end, all of the technology running the whole thing operates through Enigmatic Smile. So we would give, I guess, any organization which had 100,000 to a few million customers, we would provide branded APIs or branded app solutions, which allow their customers to register Visa cards or MasterCards or whatever kind of card in that application. And so we provide the technology, but we also provide the content. So we go and get all the shops and businesses that are around who want to do offers to send an offer onto the debit cards in those applications. So that's kind of like on the one side what Enigmatic Smile does. It's sort of an invisible in the background technology provider. And on the other side, we formed a token issuer based out of Jersey in the Channel Islands. And we created that in 2020 to release a token into the wild. Yeah. And of course, we did it all properly and professionally and released the tokens. And now we're in the situation where that token is being fully decentralized into the wider world. And the interesting thing with that token is it's able to have a utility within the reward programs that Enigmatic Smile and all the different other companies surrounding us are using. So that's how it all hangs together. Now, in terms of your introduction, you talked about transference of money and value and things like this. When we first started getting involved with this space and moving in a certain direction, we were very conscious that we didn't want to really be money, or we didn't want to have anything really to do with money, because with money comes regulation. It's like Jesus Christ said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Don't want to play that game. Yeah, we're doing something completely different. So the laws around money and transmission of money, rightly so, protect people, people who are holding that money and investors who are investing in it. And so that's one world where the regulation and everything is such that it's better to not get involved in that world and actually think of things a little bit differently. And so what we did was we created negative money, which is a discount voucher, right? So a discount voucher is essentially negative money, you get it. You can't. A business, let's say Pizza Hut, gives you a $10 off discount voucher. You can't go back to Pizza Hut and say, "Give me $10." No, nobody believes that voucher is worth $10. But you can go into Pizza Hut and receive a $10 discount. So somehow, what just happened there? It's almost money, but it's negative money. It doesn't have anything backing it other than sort of the ability to use it at a discount in future. So I found that concept very interesting from a lot of the stuff that we've done previously. And then on the flip side, when you're a merchant or you're a business or a retailer who is issuing a discount voucher and accepting it back as a discount voucher, again, you're accepting back negative money. That discount that you accepted back isn't a sale in your sales terminal. So this idea, could we create a completely new type of value transfer or negative value transfer and drive it across the world in a way that had never been done before? And that's when you know how all of what we're doing fits together, then you can see that is exactly what we're doing. But fundamentally in the background of all of this, and the why, let's say, the why at the background of all of this, is that when I was 19 years old, I read tons and tons of books and websites from all kinds of different economists talking about how the world was held together by this central banking structure around the world. And these central banks issue the money of a country. And I read these attributable quotes which said things like, "Give me the power to issue a nation's money and I care not who writes the laws." And I thought, these kind of quotes are crazy. Are people really thinking in this way? And it turns out it's true. Every single day, everybody goes to work to earn money that someone else is printing out of thin air, and everyone's bleeding, and everyone runs out of money running their businesses or tries to be successful and needs to raise capital and all of this, when actually there's just the ability for somebody to just print out that money in the money-making machine and have all the advantage, all the centralized advantage of the complete printing of money within that country domain, And I thought that's a very unfair advantage, because if we look at capitalism, which undoubtedly has been amazing for the world, and you look at the opposite, which is undoubtedly not so good for the world, you realize that there is one flaw with capitalism, which means that it's actually the money printing aspect of it that's bad. Other than that, it would be okay, because everyone's value stays stable. And when you look at the last 200 years, the dollar has depreciated by 99% or 99.99% or whatever it is. That's a crazy statistic. So there had to be a better way. But the problem that you run into is, if anyone has the right to print money, they're eventually going to corrupt themselves in that process. Whoever it is historically is going to do that. And so the idea of Bitcoin and mathematically provable finite supply of currency is super interesting in many ways. So what we did just which I think is different, and the why is it possible to decentralize the function of the issuance of currency? Is it possible to decentralize that function? So there is, of course, decentralized transactions. There is, so I can send money to you with nobody in between. It's just peer to peer. It's just getting handled in a decentralized way. There's no central party. But can the actual money supply or the actual currency supply be created in a distributed, decentralized way? And as it turns out, according to the IMF and various scholarly articles, there's never been a situation where the monetary supply can be issued in a decentralized manner where the currency itself is fixed value and stable. So, for example, Bitcoin, it's issued in a decentralized manner through its miners, but the value of a Bitcoin in terms of our daily existence is always moving around. Yeah? So it's hard for a shop to accept something which is just moving around all the time, and it's not ideal, at least at this point in Bitcoin's life cycle. Is it possible to have a dollar that's actually decentralized in its issuance and usable everywhere? And that's what we're attempting to really pull together and do. So
Wow.
I've talked for a wee minute there.
Fascinating stuff. So tell us a little bit more. You gave us kind of a high level flyover of some of the things you're doing, how you're doing it, and how this is different. Break that down. Help the everyday Joe that's running a restaurant or some type of business out there. How do we understand this better? How does this work? Break it down. How does this work using the things that you're talking about?
Okay, great. So let's look at it in the most basic of senses. A consumer wants to save money and get stuff cheaper, essentially. Like, give me the ability to get what I want cheaper, and I'm happy, right? That's what everybody just wants on a normal day, or the majority of us want on a daily basis. And on the other side of it, you've got a retailer who wants to sell their stuff for as much money as possible, to as many people as possible. Like, give me money so I can run a business. And so, strangely, those two things are opposite ends of the spectrum, isn't it? The consumer is always pushing down, and the retailer is always trying to get more out. Yeah.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter which industry you're in. That's generally the case, and that goes all the way up supply chains. The same sort of behavior between consumer or buyer and seller or whatever's going on. In the middle is this market price, and everybody sort of trades and does their business. In order to get more business, what do businesses do? So in order to get more businesses, generally they give away a discount to get some more customers coming in, or they give away points and prizes and promotions and advertising and whatever else they're trying to do to get someone to come in. There's a cost attached to doing that. And over time, these reward programs and ideas that marketers have come up with all do one thing. They get the shop to pay for, or the retailer side to pay for something, whether it's in the form of a discount or a point or a cashback or a free Bitcoin or whatever it is. The shop's paying for something to drag the customer into their store. And what we thought was, on the other side, the customer has now got to the point where nobody buys anything unless you get the best possible price for it, because it takes you 2 seconds. You go on Amazon or go and get a voucher code and you're saving money. So the customers have literally got to that point where now we're bored of rewards, bored of everything. It's all just show me the way I can get the cheapest price possible in the most places possible without having to think at all about anything, because I have no idea what I'm paying for anything anymore. The price is moving around all over the place. Just let me know I'm getting the right.
It reminds me of that commercial in America called Trivago. This is a website that goes out and compares, if you're looking for a hotel, rent a car, travel kind of stuff, you go out, you go to the site, type in all the stuff you're looking for, and it goes out and searches all the hotels, and it finds all the best deals and kind of puts it all in front of you so you can pick and choose and compare and, make the best decisions possible. I see, that with like TrueCar, when you're going out buying a car, it looks at all the prices of all the cars people have bought. And It's all aggregated and cascaded together, and supposed to be helping the consumer make the best decision possible based off of their market and who's paying what, and getting the best deal, the cheapest deal, to kind of
That's a
fulfill what.
that's a dynamic that's fully in the marketplace. So it's somewhere,
Yeah.
and what you end up with invariably is one side of that seesaw being screwed. So either you've got a company coming on and it's get 90% off in your city of this poor restaurant, and this poor restaurant's like making up fish and chips and losing money to get customers in the door, and that's generally happening to a lot of businesses out there. And on the other side, consumers are just not getting the best deal. They're all tied up in apathy and not really knowing what's going on and not really directed. So we thought, what could we do in the middle of that space to make it more efficient? And that required a complete rethinking of everything that's ever been really done before in this space, which is, could we let retailers just start printing money? Could we let retailers just start printing up their own money?
What a great question.
Yeah, right. So what would happen if we did?
The power in the hands of the people. God forbid, right?
Exactly. So, but this is what we've done, right? But of course, if we talk about printing up money, now we get into trouble, right? Because it's now we're talking of doing something bad, right? So just let's bring it down a level and just think about it in its most basic sense. Every single day, retailers are giving out discount vouchers, like we said earlier. So they're giving out $10 off coupons, whatever. What happens if we just digitized all of those discount vouchers into a digital discount voucher and let it run in a system? So the business issues a $10 coupon to some customer. The customer comes back and uses the $10 discount back at the business. And now the business still has the $10 coupon, which it can go and use in another business, or it can give back out to another customer. That value doesn't get destroyed anymore. It starts joining an economy by virtue of its continual existence. So we thought, what would happen if
networked value, distributed and networked value? Okay.
network negative value? Yeah. So we have to say it's negative value because it's a discount, right? What does it do? It just moves around. So if I give you, if I have an application, so now let's take a step back and say, okay, so let's put that into practice. In order to take that into practice, we need to be able to deliver millions of customers to businesses. Yeah. How do you deliver millions of customers to businesses? Well, there's no way we can, because delivering a millions and millions of customers costs so much money we could never get there. So let's build the technology suite to give it free to as many companies as possible who want to join into the system. So we created the entire technology suite, which is if Jason Ballard has 200,000 subscribers and you want to launch a reward app, there you go. There's a reward app. We'll put 10,000 businesses in your reward app who are all participating already, because we're getting all the businesses coming in all the time. And we give you a free reward app to distribute to your customers who you can onboard for your own reward program. It's free for you, free for the shops, free for the customers in the entire system. And all everybody needs to do is it needs to be simple. So we say register your credit cards and debit cards one time. Enigmatic Smile is a PCI level 1 service provider, so it's the highest level of sort of governance you can have for that type of activity. So now the card gets registered once, and now anytime you pay with that card, anytime you use Apple Pay, Google Pay, any kind of pay within your profile, the sale is tracked. The reward is automatically created. The discount voucher credit is automatically created and issued to your app. So now you have $10 worth of this discount voucher credit on your phone. And whenever you go shopping anywhere, you just keep earning more of this discount voucher credit. So now you get into a situation where we have a distributed ledger of all of the businesses who've been issuing you these rewards. They have to accept back the reward they issued, just in the same way as if they issue a discount voucher, they have to accept back a discount voucher. But once they've accepted back the discount voucher, as we've said, it doesn't die. So if they've accepted $200 worth of discount vouchers in a day, they can literally use them in any of the other participating retailers across the whole network, who's basically some really significant brands, are coming on board. So that's basically the concept in a nutshell. Could we help communities, local, keep money local? So if it turns out that 90% of all the money is just going up line to the banks, where the local communities aren't having any more cash left in and the retailers can't survive, what happens if we just airdropped $5 million in the middle of your city? Would it make any difference? What about 20 million, 50 million? All we need to do that is allow the retailers to issue this circulating negative value moving around the local community. And by virtue of its velocity itself, economically speaking, that area, these units don't go up line to the bank. They just keep circulating locally between people and businesses, etc., and stimulating some awesome growth. So that's kind of like where we're sitting.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm passionate
So I
about.
can see this working in retail. What industries is this really suited for? Does it work for all industries, construction, retail, consulting?
Yeah, we're speaking to governments, we're speaking to all kinds of levels, because everyone has. It started out just in retail, but as time's been developing, everyone's realizing there is no solution. There's inflation, which is just causing everybody nightmares in terms of pricing. How do we stop inflation for you and me? How do we stop it? Well, if you're saving money on your daily transactions in your daily place of living, it's a counter. Goods and services are getting cheaper for you. It's not inflation. It's the opposite of inflation for you. So it's an interesting scenario. Well, how could we actually help communities benefit? And that isn't just related to retail sectors who are all going bust everywhere. I mean, every time you look around, there's another shop going out of business, and not just small shops, retail chains everywhere, because there isn't enough money. There isn't enough money to pay the electricity bills, to pay all of these costs that are rising because of some grand master plan that's been going on. There's no way out. So unless there can be more money in circulation, there's no chance. And this is probably the only way that you can create more negative value that can spin around the area and still have good use. Because let's say you wanted to, let's say you had a police force and you wanted to give them all a 5% pay rise. And let's say you're a government, what's your chance? You got to borrow the money into existence and pay interest on that money. Or why don't you just pay all the sales? Just invent these discount vouchers, give it all to your policemen, so they have an extra 5%. Tell them they can use it at any of the participating retailers, and then accept back that 5% against your tax revenue as a government. And so therefore you create debt-free money that you didn't have to borrow off of somebody. You can just let it cycle. And as a government, you're a merchant, aren't you? You've got tax rates you're raising, etc. So it could be anything. AIDS agencies, you can think bigger and bigger, from farmer all the way down to retailer. It's a currency system, not just like a simple leveled thing. What between consumer and buyer? It's a whole ecosystem, and that's interesting to get your head around, because it takes is a different perspective on business, let alone anything else.
So give an example of one of your biggest success stories. Somebody that doubted this, somebody that was curious but needed to see this play out, that actually became one of your biggest champions that you have as a client, that's doing some amazing things with that. You don't have to give us the details of who and names or anything like that, but give us a story, an example of how you've seen this play out and make a difference out there.
Yeah, so it works on many levels in many different countries. So it's not the same in every single place. But let's say, for example, in the UK, it turns out that through our network, 90% of all offers that are attached to credit cards and debit cards in the UK come from us. 90%. Okay. And you could look through country after country. We've been in India for 5 months now. We've got the largest, an amazing client, NDTV, NDTV. It's like one of the largest independent news stations across there. All of their They've launched this app, which is this rewards app called NDTV Big Bonus. Download it if you're in India, um, and basically people just join up on this app. The guys out there have recruited probably the biggest 20 merchants in India at the moment to come on board, and now they're just recruiting customers. The brand ambassador of Single ID in India is MS Dhoni, who is the probably the most famous person in India after the president. He is the biggest cricketing star out there, unbelievable legend of a man. People actually bow to him in the streets. It's unbelievable. So the levels of success and partners and companies, there's 27 different financial institutions integrated into the system. It's very large, with 19 different apps, live banks, live newspaper groups, everything. But it's all in the background of how this works. So you as a consumer don't need to know any different than you just connect a card and save money and you're happy, because that's all you really need to do. From the merchant's point of view, they have like 100% better ROI on actually any other cashback or points or anything like that systems. For reward programs, they have more effective reward programs with more merchants and more rewards than anywhere else. So from every level, in order to make this work, you have to work every dimension on every side, from technology to consumers, to merchants, buyers, sellers, everything anywhere in between, liquidity provision, everything comes into play. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big project. So when we first started out, we were working crazy hard, but it seems to be working pretty well now, and there's millions of dollars coming in, and it's all good. But
Yeah.
it
Give us a
feels
good news story. Give us a good news story of a company you went to. Could be small, could be large, doesn't matter. Of where you went in, put your systems and stuff in place, and it made a difference. They grew. Their business turned around. Their business achieved bigger, better things. Give us a good news story.
Well, I mean, as I say, when you're looking at the companies that engage with us, they just take whole markets. We don't deal with the consumer. We don't really deal with the merchant. We deal with the companies that are, like in America. We've got a company now set up in America who's operating America. They're recruiting the rewards programs. They're recruiting the end users and everyone. And if we can help 1 million people save $50 a month, it can't be any better. I mean, if they've got $50 worth of cash back every month, it doesn't need to be much to make a difference. We want to do it on as many people as possible. So from the consumer point of view, if we can have people saving $50 a month just by buying their pizzas, doing whatever, and you've got, I mean, Eric, this chap Eric who hangs out with us, was saying there's an old lady in Ohio somewhere who has to make a choice today between food and medicine. That's her problem, right? So if she buys the medicine, she can't afford the food. If she buys the food, she can't afford the medicine. And in this way, if she just has a little bit extra money, maybe she can do both and go to sleep a little bit easier tonight. The good news doesn't need to be big to impact on millions of people. And that's what we're impacting on, millions of people across different reward programs by giving them a little bit more money. From the business's perspective, if you can save a business, if you can actually save a business by driving more customers in their door and by and letting them become a bit more profitable, and by giving them data and metrics and marketing reach for free to millions of consumers, generally the business is pretty happy, right? So we don't really lose business on the journey. So I don't know if that's a good news story in what you're looking for. Maybe I'm not as eloquent, but I think it kind of sums up what we're doing. I get.
Yeah, I get it. You're kind of in the middle of this, working with different people on both ends of the spectrum, and and again, this is volume. This is masses, right? You're doing this on a global scale. This isn't going into neighborhood, business to business to business, hoping this works. Like you're doing this on a global, um, international kind of level, right? So I'm fascinated to where your vision is on this. Where do you see this going? What does this look like in 5 years? How is the world going to be changed? 5 years looking back after you do all these things that you're doing. Seems like you've really sparked something, really important here.
Yeah, I think is thank you. I think that we're at the kind of, we're not at the first step, but if there's 100 steps, we're probably maybe at step 20 at the moment. Yeah, so we've done the most important 20 steps to this point, but now there's the big question of how big can you go, and how good can you keep it all, right, before it gets,
Yeah.
so basically what the idea is, we can't trust anybody, not even ourselves, so we have to go down the decentralized route. So it's 100% community driven in every perspective. Nobody's running it, it's a
Yeah.
currency system. um, and that's a very different jump that normally what would happen in a business where you tend to consolidate your power. In this situation, what we're trying to do is eliminate our power in every way, over where this goes, because only by being freed can it actually manifest what we think is possible. Now, the world is clearly going down one specific direction everywhere you look, which is complete centralization, of every respect, of everything. And I always say, if we don't do this, then there's no alternative to that. Yeah. So we could, I can't really do anything. Like, I can't save people's lives as a doctor, and I can't do these type of amazing things people do every day, and I'm not clever enough to do that. But if it's possible for me and the groups of people we're working with and the communities we're working with to decentralize the issuance of currency, to take that idea and remove it from private hands, and see if it's possible for that to provide an alternative to the consolidation of power that seems to be happening everywhere, it's a worthwhile alternative to try. Yeah.
Yeah.
And does it mean that we will succeed? I have no idea, but I think we've got a shot to do something very interesting, and it's certainly gathering a lot of traction and people and steam, and everything else that
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. What you're doing is amazing, Bish. It's really amazing. And I may agree, I may disagree. We may agree to disagree. Either way is fine with me. But in my humble opinion about the world and the future of our economy and our businesses and how we live and our way of life, generally speaking, I do think you're a pioneer. I do think you're kind of out on the leading edge, because I do think decentralization and giving people more of their own power and ownership and control of their life and their money and how it's spent and where it resides and in those things is the future. The future is about getting a things being personalized and customized to individuals. We're all individuals. We're all in different places. We all have different needs, wants, desires, goals, visions for ourselves and our families and the people around us and our businesses. And everybody's different. And I think the future is about how people can deliver their products and services from a company standpoint to people in an individualized manner as much as possible, and give people that unique experience of it being tailored to them, personalized to them, paying how they want to pay, coupons, Bitcoin, credit card, whatever that may be. And I think, the fascinating things about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all that, yeah, it's still kind of early in its evolution, but when people start figuring it out, when people start using it more and more, they will realize that it's a different kind of currency that is decentralized, like what you're doing. And I think some of these things are going to meld together and create a super powerful new way of doing things and thinking about money and currency and how we manage that, where we store that. You go to the bank today, you can only pull out X amount of cash per day in an ATM card. You can only, if I have $1 million in the bank, I can go to the bank, but they're not going to give me my $1 million. They need a couple days to go get me my $1 million and hand it to me in a briefcase, right? Like you really don't have control.
And it's all
It
going to be
is,
soon.
it is centralized. It is all controlled by the government, by certain business entities in the government. And while that may work for some, I don't think that works for everybody all the time. And I think the future is some kind of combination of some of these things where people can further develop their own future success how they wish to. And I think things are going to get so busy, so complicated in this fast-paced world that we have here in America. Our legislative and executive and judicial branches of government can't keep up. We're years behind in many, many ways, from cyber stuff to stuff that goes on in outer space to just good old economic activity, right? We are behind. We are slow to respond. We're reactive all the time. And I think the only way we're going to keep up as a global economy of like-minded people is to adopt some different things in these ways to empower people and decentralize things. Or if we expect everything to run through the government or everything to run through certain entities, it's just going to slow the world down. It'll eventually implode on itself, and people will live a miserable life, right? So I think you're on the cusp of hope of a new future, a better future, where people can have more control to define what they think is best suited for them in their future. I don't know. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I think
You're
we're
speechless. I'll be dang.
I think we're at a crossroads now, which is the most frightening point in history, and I think most people have no idea exactly what's happening. AI is an alien intelligence amongst us that is literally stronger and faster than everybody's thoughts. When you consider that basically all sales jobs, all customer service jobs, all coaching jobs, all business leading jobs, all of those type of jobs, all logistics, all accountancy, all those jobs are gone. The 5 years gone. No job anymore, because they can do it a billion times better, a billion times faster than any of us can. So I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but that's terrifying, because what's happening next with the economy? What's happening with when all of that economic activity slows down? What happens to the money in people's banks, the pensions? What is the economic reality that the world is going to be in? Who's going to control those AIs? If you needed to make sure that if you were trying to cling on to your power, what would you be willing to do to maintain it? What crimes would you be willing to commit? So I think this whole moment that we're approaching, this nexus point that's about to happen, where you've got this whole class of people being involved in subject matters that average people have no idea about, from artificial intelligence to engineering your own engineering ourselves new bodies. What wouldn't you be doing if your wife or your son or your daughter was sick, and you could go and buy a new heart that was created for them that could save their life? What wouldn't you be willing to do that, to get that for them? You'd do anything. And so the future is about the people that control the AIs, the money supplies, the bodies, the militaries, all of that. It's centralizing in the craziest way possible. And there has to be an alternative. And the alternative can only be decentralized currency,
Yeah,
decentralized issuance of
I
currency.
agree. I agree. Well, Bish, I feel like we can talk for hours and hours and hours. We've already, been through just an amazing amount of things today. And thank you so much for your time and being able to be on the show and share some of this vision, this entrepreneurial vision of the future and what it's going to be and what we need to be doing to be thinking about it differently, how to position ourselves to leverage these technologies and opportunities of the world that keep being created as a result of it. As we kind of end the show today, what are the top 3 things you want to leave people with that are most important for you?
I think I'd like to say thank you to you first before I leave. But I think the 3 most important things to me that I would like to have people thinking about is that anything's possible. if we all get together and want it so. And that if you are sitting on your ass in a room thinking, what can I do about it? What is my role? What can I do about this? Maybe just look up some of the stuff that we're doing and think that there is something you can do and participate in that can make a real difference, if that is so you're inclined. So I think it's a positive message that that by decentralizing currency, I think we can change many, many, many different things. And hopefully we gather a lot of help and enthusiasm behind that clear goal. That's not three things. I'll say it's one.
I love it. And thank you for that. At the end of the day, you're a pioneer, you're an innovator, and but it takes a village for things to really happen in the world. And you're certainly leading in that space. So learn, be challenged by this, be encouraged by this, learn more about this. And if you want to learn more, Bish, tell people how they can contact you, learn more, get engaged, get involved, and maybe, do some of the things, be part of some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah, so check out vowcurrency.com and become parts of our community. That's VOWcurrency.com. And you can become part of the community and read about what we're doing and see if you like it, and then become part of it, because I'm
Awesome.
sure you'll hear a lot more about it in the next few years.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to put, all of Bish's contact information, websites, and, all those types of things in the show notes. Yeah, we'll give all that to you as we normally do. And you're going to want to stay tuned for next week. Next week, we got a really, really interesting topic around resilience. A lot of people going through things right now in their personal lives, business lives, etc., and how to be resilient, how to deal with all the problems of the world mentally, physically, spiritually, through some integrative healing that creates some resilience in you and your teams to navigate all of these things we talked about in the future and figure out how we can put solutions out there to make the world a better place. So you won't want to miss that. That's all for today's show, folks. Hope you all have a great week.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.